Now, if you're in the market looking for a scooter that's going to give you long distance, has reliable tires, we're talking about self-healing, puncture-resistant tires, and looks great, well, you're going to want to check out this video because today we're taking a look at the Navee S65 scooter, and it has all these features and many more. Let's get right to it. Now, the Navee S65 is packed with power. It has a 500-watt gear motor, and it's also an app-enabled scooter. In other words, it uses an app to be able to update the firmware and also control many of the functions of the scooter. One of the things that I really love about the scooter is the fact that it has 10-inch self-sealing tires. Now, in addition to having the self-sealing tires, these tires are tubeless, right? So you don't have to worry about flat, but they also are air-filled, which is going to give you a fantastic ride. Now, the other thing that I like about it, combined with these tires, is the fact that it has a front and rear suspension. This thing is like all-terrain. You have to watch the video. You'll see in one of the sections of the video where I'm actually bouncing on it, and it's just like super cool. Literally going up let's say a sidewalk, where typically it's a very jarring experience, you don't have it with the scooter at all. So front and rear suspension, plus those tubeless tires that are air-filled, give you an amazing ride. Now, in addition to that, you do have a 20-mile top speed. Now, the scooter that I'm reviewing is the European version, so it goes up to 15, but the US version will go up to 20 miles per hour. The other thing that this has is a 40-mile range, so that's going to get you pretty far, 40 miles. Now, it has 3 modes, a walking mode, a standard mode, and a sport mode. Now, the cool thing about the walking mode is that if you're walking the scooter, you're not going to have to push it. It's going to glide next to you, but it's not going to be so fast or so powerful that it will just go away from you, right? So that's great if you want to get off and you would just want to walk a bit. The other thing is that if you do get caught in the rain or maybe have to go through a puddle or a splash, you don't have to worry either because it's IPX5 rated. Now, for those of you who are wondering, who can ride this bike? Well, this is a cool scooter. Not only does it have one of the tallest steering columns that I've seen, like 49 inches, but it also has one of the heaviest weight capacities I've seen as well in the scooter, 265 pounds. That's pretty good, right, when it comes to a weight capacity. Now, in my case, not quite there at all. But what that means for me is that if I want to carry some groceries, which we do, or any other goods with me, I can as well because of the weight capacity. So let's take a closer look at the scooter. We're going to also go on a ride, and I'm going to go over some of these specs again as we're going through the ride experience, and you'll see why you'll want to check this one out. Now, the Navee scooter has some fantastic suspension and tires, and we're going to focus on that first because I think that this is one of the unique aspects of the scooter. You have tubeless tires. That means that you're not going to have to worry about running into situations where you run into a flat, for example. So they are self-sealing in the event that there is kind of a puncture. They are air-filled, but no tubes whatsoever. The other thing that you can see prominently in the back is that it does have a disc brake system, which is also great and very responsive. And then it does have, as you can see in this area here, and you'll see in the front as well, front and rear suspension. And this is probably one of the most comfortable rides that I've had in a scooter that is not just about the standard ride, but it's also about dealing with potholes or even going off of a curb, and it's almost like all-terrain experience because of the type of suspension it has. Now, it does have a kickstand on the side, and you'll notice that I'm propping it up somewhat because it kind of leans a lot to the right, just to make sure that I have a good shot here. But it has a kickstand, and then you can see the bed itself. It does have a rubberized surface that is very wide. That's going to support 2 feet side by side or front and back, and it has a real nice grip surface. Now, the back of the scooter also has an area here that's going to be a clip, so when you raise or actually lower the handlebar down for stowing or for transportation, has a rear LED that is both for braking and also for giving you, I would say, night visibility so that people can actually see you. You'll notice clearly in the back more of the suspension. You'll notice how separated it is. The design is pretty unique. We haven't really seen a scooter like this that has this kind of suspension, which provides for that fantastic ride. Now, in front of the scooter, you'll notice that, again, here's the front suspension point and how you have those 2 independent suspension systems that give you that great ride. You also then have a side marker here, a reflector, that also allows anyone who is driving by to be able to see you. You also then have some really nice cable management, and you'll notice how it's tucked in here. So the cable management runs, and you'll see that in a couple seconds, how it goes inside of the steering column all the way down, and it hides inside and then distributes to the back. Now, folding the scooter is pretty simple. All you do is push this upwards like this, and then this comes in forward, and then the actual, this area here would open up, and you could release or actually lower the steering column. Now, once you've opened up this area, it folds really simply like this, and it connects to the back of the scooter, really giving it a more portable format. Now, it is still a larger scooter, but this folding mechanism makes it really easy to transport. Now, in front of the scooter, you do have a front reflector, and on the side here, you do have your actual power plug that's going to allow you to juice up this scooter. Now, I'm purposely taking this shot from this angle because I wanted to show you this is not an optical illusion. This scooter has one of the tallest steering columns that I've seen in a scooter. First of all, it's incredibly comfortable to ride this scooter, and second, if you are someone that is taller, let's say over 6 feet, this is going to be a great scooter for you because of how high the steering column is. So your arms are not going to be all the way here at the very bottom, but are going to be higher up, and you can see based on this height that you see here. The actual controls also are really easy to access. Now, the controls on the scooter, you'll find on one side you have your brake. It also has a belt. Right, so it's kind of loud, but it works extremely well. You can see here is your cable management. This basically goes in and tucks right inside of the steering column, right here as you can see here. And then what you have is your display. Now, this display is very bright. And one of the things I found that's unique about this is that I haven't really seen a scooter where the thumb throttle actually has a power button. So you can see how there's a power button there as well. So once you press that button, you'll notice how well lit up this is. This is a Bluetooth, I would say, enabled scooter that has a really easy to read display, fuel gauge right here in the bottom, and it's also connected to a Bluetooth app, which is going to be the My Home app as well. Now, this scooter is the European version, so I'm not really seeing the kind of speeds that I would see in the traditional scooter that would be the US version. So top speed I'm seeing is 15 miles per hour. The US version is going to be at 20, but has a 40-mile range, which is pretty great. So I've been riding this. You can see my fuel gauge is still at 100%. It's going to take a lot of scooting around to bring this down. As we discussed, on the throttle, you do have the power button, and then you actually have the actual fuel or the power engagement here. This is a kick-to-start scooter, so you're going to have to kick it off in order to get it going. Now, the grips for the scooter are very comfortable. They're rubbery. They feel great. It doesn't feel like you get a lot of fatigue with these whatsoever. Now, the scooter does have 3 speeds. All you do is you press the button twice to go from walking mode, which allows you to walk the scooter. And literally, it's self-propelled, but it's not going to run away from you. You then have a standard drive mode, and then you have a sports mode as well. Now, pressing and holding just for a second or so, it will turn on the front light. This is how you do it. And you notice how it got a little dimmer. But now what happened is the actual light is on. The light is really bright. You can see here on my hand. It's pretty powerful. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the Navee S65 scooter, some of the features here. First thing that you're going to notice is that, oh boy, is it beautiful in Chicago. So we're around upper 70s finally, and we just recently got the Navee in for review. This is actually a European version that was sent to us, but it is pretty much very similar, if not the same, as the one that's going to be appearing very soon on the Kickstarter. One thing that is different with this scooter that I'll just highlight is its top speed, because it is kind of like bound to the European top speed. So I don't know if we're going to be able to see that 20 mile per hour top speed that we would expect. So let's first talk about what you can expect from this scooter. First of all, this scooter is tall. It's one of the tallest scooters that we have reviewed in the channel in a long time. And what do we mean by tall? Well, if you look at the actual steering column where I have my hands on right now, it's one of the tallest that we've reviewed. And what you'll notice is that my elbows are bent. My arms, where my hands are positioned, they're higher up than what we have with some of the other scooters that we reviewed on the channel. 49 inches, I believe, is what you have from a height perspective, which means that this is going to be a great scooter for those of you who are taller, much taller than I am. Right, so I'm 5'6", a little bit close to 5'7", definitely not a super tall person. And one of the things that you'll find is that a scooter like this is going to give you a lot of, I would say, support when it comes to someone that is of that height. That's the first thing. Second thing that sets this scooter apart is that it has a dual suspension system. So it has front shocks and back shocks. I'm right now doing a little bounce here just to see how
the bouncy goes. And hopefully you can see that we are both front and back suspension, which is super smooth. I'm telling you, super duper smooth. The other thing that you're going to notice about this is, in addition to the suspension, is that you have tubeless tires. Now, significance of tubeless tires pretty much is that you won't have to worry about flats riding this, but even though you won't have to worry about flats, you are going to have an experience here that is tube-like, right? So it is going to be very, very nice for the ride, and we're going to go all-terrain here for a second. See how well it does here? Yeah, that's nice. All right. So tubeless tires means you're not going to have to worry about having or running into a flat. It does have puncture-resistant tires. It does have some air in it, but it doesn't have any tubes, as they say. Now, in addition to the tubeless tires, it does also then have a real nice regenerative, I would say, power solution that you can adjust on the app. So this is an app-based scooter that has a lot of configuration that you can actually determine how much of the regeneration as you slow down goes back into the battery. That should extend the battery life of the scooter. It does have a brake, a single brake, right? And you can see that the brake right here on the side, very easy to access and control. You do have a thumb throttle, and the thumb throttle is on this side. And it also has the power button, which is, I think this is the first scooter that we reviewed that actually has the thumb throttle actually has a power button. So typically, when we review scooters of this type, the actual power is found in the middle. And let's make sure we get through here. So the actual power is found in the center, right? So as I look at the controls right here, I'm looking down at it right now, this control area typically is where you would have the power for the scooter. In this case, it's actually on the side, so you're able to turn things on there. It does have an app that we'll talk about it as well. That app is where you're going to be able to use for firmware updates, as well as, enabling some features, like, for example, cruise control. Right now, we are operating in cruise control. So there isn't really anything that we're doing to really keep this scooter powered at this speed. It's just doing it because my thumb was holding down the throttle, and it came to the speed. And right now it's clocking at 15 miles per hour. It should be at 20. I'm actually in sports mode, but again, given to the fact that it's kind of locked to the European speed, it's not giving me my full speed that I should have here. Now, what about the range for this scooter? This scooter has a pretty spectacular range. You're looking at a 40-mile range. 40 mile, 20 miles per hour top speed. Now, in addition to having that top range of 40 miles, one of the things that I want to highlight also is the bed. So you'll notice here that I have both feet side by side on the bed. The bed is pretty wide, right? So you can see me with my flip-flops on. I'm sure I'm gonna get some criticism for that. So I have a nice helmet on protecting my noggin, but I'm wearing flip-flops. Yeah, I can see those coming. So flip-flops for sure, and you can have your flip-flops side by side and not have a problem with this either. The actual steering is very, I would say, very maneuverable. The handlebars, or at least the grips, don't feel stress-free. They're not going to be something that's going to cause a lot of stress, so they are stress-free. And as I look at the bed does have, where I have my feet, it does have some texture to it that's going to keep your feet put on the actual scooter. Now, as we stated, from a brake perspective, you do have a single brake. It is a disc brake system, as you can see in the back, and it's very responsive. What I wanted to show you here is actually, how powerful is the pull as soon as we take this out, because this is a 500-watt motor that has a peak of 800 to 1,000 watts. So we're going to go ahead and pull out, and almost immediately it capped to the 15. Let's go ahead and slow down again, and we'll try that again. So I'm going to come down almost to a stop. So we're right now at 2 miles an hour. And let's go ahead and see how fast we can pick things up. 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so that was pretty fast, right? We'll see how true it is with our GPS as we look at the video. but it does seem to pick up pretty fast, the speed. Now the one thing I don't know if the mics are going to pick up because of the wind is that it does have a slight hum to it. So most of the scooters that we reviewed are pretty silent. I'm going to stay quiet for a second to see if you can pick up that sound, or we can pick up the sound so you can hear what I hear. Let me go ahead and bend a little bit. All right, so that may or may not come up. It's not an annoying sound, but I don't know if it's the tires. Let me stop the throttle to see if it's the motor. Yeah, it's definitely not the tire. So right now, this is how quiet it runs without power. It is definitely the motor, which has a high torque. And again, once again, this is not a final version. So the version that may make into your hands, if you do support the project, is probably going to be much quieter than this. I don't know. We'll see. The app that I was mentioning to you all is the Xiaomi app, the Xiaomi My app. And it's going to give you, again, a lot of information about the scooter, serial number, distance, and all that other good stuff. And is the area where you do your firmware upgrade. I mentioned that you can turn on the cruise control. You can also turn on the rear light to make sure that the rear light is on at all times, or the rear LED that you have, which is also your brake LED. So you can have that turned on if you want somebody to be able to see you. Overall comfort, guys, very, very comfortable scooter. I'm telling you, the tires, the fact that they're tubeless tires, air-filled, very nice. The fact that it has a rear, I would say a rear power drive, 500 watts. It seems to pick up very fast. It's right now 5 miles shy of what I would expect the top speed. And right now it's clocking at 14 miles per hour, right? Compared to what the scooter is stating, at least on the screen here, which is not bad. You always find that they're not 100% accurate or spot on, but that's nice. And I did mention that app is going to be a Bluetooth app, right? So that's something that you can look at. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about the scooter is that it does have a mode. It's called the walking mode, which means that you can walk with the scooter right next to you and not have to push it. It's kind of like is slightly powered, which is also really nice, especially if you're scooting and then you want to go ahead and do a little bit of a walk, but you don't want to have to be putting a lot of energy into getting the scooter to move. So it has a walk mode.
So guys, that wraps up our review of the Navee S65 scooter. See you in the next one.